So here's my take on this. The only way you can fix this is by getting ahead of it to limit excuses. Let me explain. There's two things you have to understand about employees. Is that sometimes they challenge you just to challenge you. And the second thing is they're challenging you to understand. I'm going to assume that it's the latter. That your employees are challenging to understand based on their own capabilities that target is unrealistic and not achievable. And in some cases, that argument holds some truth. So here's the object to consider. One is, of course, they're giving you this goal, so maybe you don't have any control over what they're giving you. I get it. The question for you is like, did you do the math behind the goal that they gave you? And here's what I mean. One, did you set a activity list with all the activities the jobs that you have, the frequency of those jobs, and the reasonable expectation? If you do that, that'll calculate how many hours you need to achieve that work. Then if the goal is different, all you do is add that to that list based on frequency, because the time frame should not change. Only the frequency should change, or the volume of that activity, and that gives you a delta of what labor hours you actually need to achieve the goal. The second thing is KPIs. Do you understand the KPIs and trending performance of your team? In that case, you would select the best performing KPI. And if they can replicate that, that is what your current performance metric is. There is an average to that, but you have to look at what is the best week that I've had so far, and can I replicate that week? And what did I do differently that week that made it a really good week? Second thing to consider. The third thing is, are you tracking lost time? What are the barriers that's causing inefficiencies in your area? And the way you calculate it is in hours. So if you understand what your productivity is, right? Units per labor hour, and then you multiply that by the number of lost time hours, because lost time hours are labor hours. You do that math, and that is your opportunity to gain work back into your current work schedule. So if you do those three things and you clearly understand what your current state is and what you're capable of doing if you fix those things, then you can measure that against what they're asking you for. If it's pretty close, then talk to your employees and say, hey, we're close. It's almost there. But if there's a huge gap, that's a conversation between you and your boss.